Hello, hello, friends. We're here. One way or another, we got here. Today we're streaming because of our wonderful technical difficulties, which have been such a joy to work with. Just hours and hours that I would have been bored that thankfully was able to fill with some, yelling at my computer. But besides that, we are here with Doug Levine, the wonderful PT. You need
Hello.
like an official title, like King of PT. We need something, Doug.
I like wonderful. Wonderful's good.
That's it. It's kind
We'll work on it.
of okay.
We'll
We'll
work
work on
on
it
it. We'll try to find something better for next week.
next week. That's a deal. All right. So, the wonderful Doug Levine has just a little bit of experience with DMD, about 10, 15 years. He's wonderful. He's great. Let's see. Specializing specifically in DMD for at least 10 years, been working with Cure Duchenne, has been involved with Duchenne ever since he was first, what's the word, certified? No, you're not
Yeah,
certified as a PT.
licensed.
Licensed.
Licensed. Yeah, I mean,
There we go.
I've been working with kids with Duchenne for about 25 years, but
Wow.
really was seeing, well, that's how long I've been a PT, but really seeing all diagnoses, but more specializing in it. I mean, now it's probably about 80% of the kids that I see for therapy. So really been sort of specializing in that in the last 10, 12 years.
That's awesome. And
Yeah,
you're right. Since 97, it's a quarter of a century. You
I
are
know it's sad, but it's sad but true. So yes, I work in a variety of settings. I see kids in the home for therapy. I'm a school-based therapist twice a week. I've volunteered at MDA camp for 11 years. I help run the neuromuscular clinic here in Austin. So a lot of different perspectives. I mean, hopefully the different questions that come up with this, I can lend that perspective from kind of different angles, being a therapist in different areas.
Well, I have a simple, straightforward PT question for you today, Doug. And
Oh,
you are
keeping
not
it simple.
you're not allowed to say it depends. That is
Okay.
off the table. Okay.
Okay.
So I am the guest today. I'm wearing many roles today, but this is a legit question for me. So our son will be transitioning to a scooter, wheelchair, whatever you want to call it. Just, for temporary things like going out when he gets tired, that kind of thing. And so one of my wonderful friends has been asking me, Lindy, we homeschool. She's one of our homeschooling friends. What do we need to look for whenever we go out and we do field trips together or we go to the playgrounds together? What do we need to look for so that Dietrich can still be included? Oh, that's my son's name. So that my son can still be included. So things like talk to me about ramps, talk to me about bathrooms, talk to me about, stuff that I don't know about yet because I'm not there.
Yeah. So you mean what do you need to know about the environment that you're bringing him to, or about the piece of equipment? More so the
Um,
environment.
the environment, yeah, so
Yeah.
that extended family and friends can also pick places so he can be included.
Yeah, so in your case, because you're going to look for different things depending upon the functional level of the person. I didn't say it depends, but if I'm just saying in general, because this is for everybody, if your child is ambulatory, you're maybe looking for those things that could be obstacles, like even something as simple as mulch, that or some sort of pea gravel or something like that on a playground that you or I or somebody else could easily navigate. If you have somebody that is has Duchenne but they're walking, but it's a little bit difficult, that can pose balance problems. They can easily catch their foot on a piece of mulch or a piece of rock or whatever it is. So you're really looking, the overarching thing is you're looking for anything that can be obstacles. Now, in your case, where you're talking about with your son, where he's going to be using a mobility device, whether it's a manual chair or a scooter or power chair or something like that, some things to look for, and it's a lot of people don't even realize these things until they need them, right? And then they all of a sudden I didn't realize how inaccessible that building was, or that playground was, or whatever it is. So I would start first with wherever you're going to. I mean, can you access it? Let's just use the playgrounds as an example. Some are more accessible than others. I mean, I work in a school, and we've had some playgrounds put in that unfortunately I didn't get to give input on. But even at an elementary school, and these are like playgrounds that were put in the last, year or two or three, not 40 years ago. They're horribly inaccessible. I mean, there's nothing that a child in a wheelchair can be able to access. So, but other playgrounds are incredible. I live in Austin. We have, there are like two or three or four big playgrounds in and around Austin where every part of the playground is accessible by a ramp. So that's the first thing that you're looking at is, can they access large parts of whatever it is, playground, playscape, whatever, or is it just like one spot that they can access? Because if that's the case, they can if it's just one spot, they can certainly feel left out. If other family members, other kids, cousins, friends are going to this part and they're stuck in this part because there's no way to get over to that part, that can certainly make them feel left out. So just in general, looking at that, and a lot of times you can do internet searches ahead of time for accessible playgrounds. And some of them are listed like by the city or by the county, and some of them have been put up there by parents that have done blogs or just made a website. Second thing is there shade? Sometimes if you're in a hot part of the country or time of year, kids with Duchenne sometimes have temperature regulation issues. Or if they're not out in the sun a lot, they can get sunburned really easily. So if you're stopping for lunch, if you're stopping for breaks, whatever it is, are there a lot of trees around? Is there shade? Is there a covered area where they can cool off and take a break? Because I know like here in Austin, it's just once it hits summertime, it's crazy hot, and it's too hot for these guys, and it's going to wear them out a lot quicker. So are there shaded areas? You alluded to in the beginning, restrooms. Not just are there restrooms, but if somebody is not able to maybe stand up and use a urinal or transfer onto a regular toilet, is there a place for them to like use a handheld urinal, or if they need to be changed, we want to make sure that we're respecting their dignity and cleanliness and not putting them down on a floor or where other people can walk in. So,
Let me jump in real quick since we're on bathrooms.
yeah.
Is this about the time when mamas of boys with Duchenne start taking them into the ladies' bathroom with them in a public place?
Yeah, I mean, it gets harder for guys to, as they're walking and as they're standing becomes more difficult. They start to need help. Sometimes even if they're using, a lot of the guys at that age, 9, 10, 11, will use a handheld urinal, but sometimes they need help with that, holding it in place, scooting forward. So absolutely. I mean, that's, and you just have maybe somebody stand outside and while you're
Okay.
doing what you need to do and helping your son, or sometimes just locking the door, and doing that. But yeah, it's certainly these everyday things for others become more of a challenge and do require uh, more forethought to make sure that inclusion is there, dignity and respect is there, and all of that.
Yeah, no, that's great, Doug, because I'm just thinking back to some of the parks that we would frequent before COVID. And there's a couple places they might have a ramp to get up to, like, the cemented basketball area, but there's not a way to get from that area to like the baseball area where I'm sure the kids will be running back and forth. And so that's good for me to already kind of get in my mind. we do need to wrap this up, but a final question. I like what you said about looking up stuff online, because as you were talking, I was like, oh, do I need to scope out all of these ahead of time? If you call a park and ask if they're ADA compliant, is that enough? Or do I need to, like, do the DMV
Well,
mom thing?
yeah, I mean, just like you said, like there's a playground you're talking about, there's a ramp to get up to a concrete area. Just because something's ADA accessible doesn't mean that it's fun. So it might be ADA accessible to a concrete slab, or it might be ADA accessible to a pile of dirt or whatever, but it doesn't necessarily mean that the whole, it just means that part of it is ADA accessible. Or in regards to a building, that you can get inside the building. But it doesn't mean that all, if it's labeled ADA accessible, doesn't mean that all areas of the playground are necessarily accessible.
Okay.
And this is what, just to back up just a small point.
Yeah.
This is why I'm also in a lot of cases in favor of some sort of powered mobility as opposed to a manual chair. Because, and powered mobility doesn't necessarily have to only mean a 350-pound power wheelchair that you need an $80,000 accessible van to transport. A lot of times, for a lot of the guys, we're talking about power scooters that are a lot more affordable and are transportable. That usually come apart into 5 or 6 pieces. You can put them in the back of a small sedan. And the reason I say this is because kids learn and kids socialize by not just by accessing different areas, but by accessing these things themselves, by exploring themselves and going themselves. So if they're in a manual chair and there's a soccer field, or kids are playing chase, or we're not talking about like a playground now, but if it's a big open area where kids are running around and playing chase, they're not going to be able to keep up in a manual chair and they're going to fatigue. And B, if it's an uneven surface, soccer field, a bumpy surface, that makes it a lot more difficult. In a scooter, and I've seen this just working in the schools, we've gotten kids with Duchenne their first powered mobility device. All of a sudden, they're chasing kids on the playground they never were before. They're being chased. They're laughing. I mean, I literally, I have chills. I mean, it's a beautiful thing. And that's what we're trying to foster, is inclusion, kids playing together, not you're over here and you're over here. So it's just sort of a plug for power mobility. It's not for everybody. But I think there are a lot of times where it really helps.
Doug, I just want to shrink you up and put you in my pocket so that I've just always got you there, and you can just help with all these tips at any time. I'm just so grateful for you and your insight and your focus on the relationships. It's not just, like you said, getting them something to sit in. It's about accessing other humans. And I'm just so grateful for your
I
point of view.
appreciate that. It's important. I mean, more and more providers, be it doctors, OT, speech therapists, PTs, we need to think about that part of it too. We need to move away from just the physical, because we're not just physical beings. We want people, we're people that want connection and to laugh and to be included and to do things. And so that needs to be factored into equipment that we're trying to get for kids. It needs to be factored into goals that we're making for kids, not just, we'll be able to stand on one foot for 5 seconds. These things need to be meaningful for people. So I know we're a little bit all over the place, but
yeah,
anyway.
no, it's all right. And speaking of all over the place, Doug, I have a new $1 million business idea for you. You can market medical equipment, and the name, are you ready?
Yeah.
Lovable Mobility.
Oh, great. You just shared it with everybody though. So now it's no longer my idea.
And go. Let's see who gets there first.
It's somebody with more business sense than I.
All right, Doug. Well, thank you. Thank you again for your time. Thank you for hanging in there and putting up with me. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome.
And
Thank you.
We'll see you in a week or so when school starts.
You got it.
Have a good one.
Bye.